Hello and welcome to StudyIQ English, the best and the most diverse platform for English medium UPSC aspirants. A very good morning. Welcome to today's Hindu news analysis session. Let's pick up the important articles for the day from the Hindu newspaper, the New Delhi edition. And let's analyze the articles, including two which need a more detailed explanation coming from the editorial segment and quite important for your UPSC mains exam. So let's collect all the important points from here, and also we will see a couple of practice questions alongside. Then there are three other articles which are shorter, they are more crisp and direct. Let's analyze them from the prelims perspective, moreover. Okay, so as we start the discussion, I encourage you to keep the participation on. Should there be any question, please feel free to ask. Now, before I start, there is a heads up I want to give you. Many students have been asking about the PDF availability, and I would like to tell you on a very positive note that soon, by tomorrow, I shall enable you a link in which I will upload all the PDFs of the Hindu sessions that I have been conducting for you, so that you can have an access and use them for future reference. So now let's get going with the first article for the day, that is the mains article taken from page number 10. What does the article talk about? Before we begin understanding or analyzing any newspaper article, it's important to do a topic mapping. So, which GS paper or which topic of the UPSC syllabus does this article associate with? This article associates with GS paper 1 and GS paper 2. Let me break it down further. Talking about GS paper 1, a very crucial segment of GS paper 1 is social issues. And within social issues, we know that education happens to be a critical topic. Within education, we also talk about various government schemes regarding higher and primary education in India. Now, one such most spoken about happens to be the National Education Policy 2020. Why? Because let's understand, this is only the third educational policy in India. Previously, we had one in 1968, followed by another one in 1986. But both these were not as comprehensive as the new education policy of 2020. So this is GS paper 1, and talking about GS paper 2. In the GS paper 2, we talk about social justice, vulnerable segments of society. Once again, the lack of primary education for the vulnerable communities in India, including the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the PVTGs, the particularly vulnerable tribes of India, women, similarly, people below the poverty line. All these vulnerable communities do not have the same access to universal education like the richer, upper caste and mainstream communities. So therefore, even in GS paper 2, as we talk about social reforms, educational reforms in India, this article has a very important relevance. Now let's begin seeing what is the main agenda of this article. Article begins by saying that the NEP 2020 is a very ambitious education policy. We all know why. First reason is that alongside making vocational education compulsory, making preschool education or Anganwadi education compulsory. Another important feature of this education policy is to create a three language formula in India, which means every state in India should teach at least three languages to the students. One being English, another being the official language of the state, and third being Hindi. This was propagated to create a unity in India, linguistic unity. We know that India is a diverse society, especially when we talk about language. Apart from the 8th schedule of the Indian Constitution, talking about at least 22 officially recognized languages, we do have so many other dialects and regional languages. The purpose was to create unity across the subcontinent so that children are not only learning English, that is, the most important international medium of communication, but children also imbibe Hindi, being a part of India's cultural heritage. But today a problem seems to have come. We know and we have been seeing in the news how various states across India have objection with the usage of Hindi language. This is more common in the peninsular states. People feel that government at the center has been forcefully imposing Hindi language upon them. This kills the importance of their own state language, of their own heritage and their own ethnicity. This article talks about exactly the same problem. Recently, states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu both have said we will not implement the three language formula as per the NEP 2020. They are in fact propagating a strong push towards two language formula. They say that yes, English will be taught, but apart from English in all the boards of the state, they want to implement their state official language. For that matter, for example, Tamil Nadu English and Tamil, in Karnataka Kannada and English. So these states are against Hindi. Now do not forget, just few weeks before something similar happened in Maharashtra. Maharashtra also strongly rejected the three language pattern. It said we are not going to use Hindi as the medium of education in our schools. So this is again defeating the purpose of national education policy. And today this article is asking a question. Article is saying, is it valid to actually force all the states to learn three languages? Is the agenda of linguistic unity, creating more nationalism in India through three language formula, or creating compulsion to learn Hindi among all these states? Is it a valid thing to do? Will it really create a quality education? Or is it nothing but a politically endorsed agenda? Article looks into that. Then article talks about certain solutions. So let me quickly talk about the objections created by these states and are they valid? And then we will see how can we create a more inclusive and better, more quality oriented education where language should not be the priority. Skill training, job oriented skills, vocational skills should be the prime focus. So now let's see how this article talks about Tamil Nadu as a state with its own rich linguistic and cultural history. Today says that we are not going to accept Hindi as a medium in schools. But this is not a new demand. If we go back to the history, then Tamil Nadu, right since the Dravida movement had started, it was at the forefront of anti-Brahmanical, anti-caste hierarchy, and anti-Sanskrit. Because at that point of time, Sanskrit or Hindi was seen as reflections of a very, very Brahmanically dominated Indian society. And therefore came the need in the state to endorse, to propagate, and to celebrate its own language. And therefore, beautiful literature was created within the Tamil language. We all know the self-respect movement, initiated by earlier Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, later, of course, Periyar, Shri E.V. Ramasamy. All these had the intention of creating pride among people in their own culture so that they can work towards India's freedom. Once again, during the 1990s, we saw that there was an anti-Hindi agitation in the area of Tamil Nadu. So this is nothing new. It has been happening since the time of the freedom movement itself. Now, therefore, today, both these states, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, are saying that English is important. English is not only important for them, but it's also important across India, being the lingua franca, the basic language of communication globally. English is associated with better higher education, better job oriented skills, and better employment in the global market. So, therefore, all these states feel that English has to be present, but apart from that, by giving importance to regional languages over Hindi, they are only creating a better opportunity for people in rural areas of the state to come and take up the education. who otherwise may not be happy or comfortable in learning Hindi from the scratch. So, therefore, today both these states are saying that up till class 10th, that is up till high school, we want Hindi to not be there, but English alongside their regional language to predominate their education system. Okay, so this is what the article is saying. The article also says later on that Tamil Nadu today is trying to do something very revolutionary. Now, let's remember whether we talk about how Tamil Nadu became the first state in India to start the midday meal scheme, which actually saw a great enrollment in schools from rural children, including girls. It also saw a sharp decrease in the dropout rate of girls from primary school. Why? We understand that majority of students in government schools are coming from economically weaker backgrounds. Therefore, getting one quality meal a day in school becomes a valid reason for parents to promote their children's participation in school education. Not just that, in the last few decades, Tamil Nadu has been one of the only states which has a very strong, very successful public education system. Today, again, Tamil Nadu is doing a very unique demand. Tamil Nadu wants the central government to provide it a massive funding. To do what? Massive funding to promote a very new modern style of education across the state, which focuses on critical thinking right from grade 1 and onwards. Critical thinking based on touch and feel learning, environmental learning, learning regarding sanitation hygiene. It wants to promote learning among children with learning disabilities, neurological disorders, especially focusing on poor children from the tribal communities. Tamil Nadu is also promoting a very unique pattern of education named as the STEAM education. We all may have heard about STEM education: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. We know that NEP, New Education Policy, has given importance to this. Obviously, because scientific technical education provides better job opportunities in the formal sector jobs. But Tamil Nadu is talking about the STEAM education system. So please keep in mind that when you write your answers regarding education reforms, regarding the demand of various states to revolutionize their education, you should include these points from current events. What is STEAM education? STEAM education stands for a new approach: science, technology, arts, and maths, to even include humanities in the domain of higher education. Therefore, it is pushing for a strong public education system. Today, the article is asking, what is wrong with this? What is wrong in improving your public education system? Is it really important to be so obsessed about the three language formula? Or let these states allow to design education policy as per their needs? So, therefore, have the states completely rejected the three language formula? Can we confirm that? In a way, yes, because Maharashtra has, Karnataka has, Tamil Nadu in paper has. So, these states are saying that promoting and forcing the use of Hindi in education under the NEP 2020 is unproductive. It creates retaliation among the rural population of the state, who find it very challenging to learn English and then, apart from that, Hindi as well. The three language policy, these states are saying, is also ignoring the need for English language learning in Hindi speaking belts like Gujarat and Maharashtra. Data suggests that even in the Hindi speaking belts of Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Maharashtra, people are lagging in job opportunities, especially in the technical domain, sometimes because of lack of English language skills. If you remember, Madhya Pradesh did a revolution last year by allowing students to write medical exams in Hindi language. Just imagine before that, a student with poor command over language, that's English language, was anyway finding it very difficult to enter into the mainstream management and technology colleges. This is very unfortunate, but that's the reality. So therefore, article says that southern Indian states say that propagate English for job opportunities, and there is nothing wrong with that. Article also says that education policies in states like Tamil Nadu and Karnataka have actually performed very, very well. The literacy ratio in both these states is quite high compared to the national average. So today they are not doing anything wrong by saying that center should not force them to learn all three languages. Apart from that, Tamil Nadu state education policy also says that we will talk about teaching our school children strategies to deal with climate mitigation, digital literacy, the use of artificial intelligence, problems like social justice. So, does this not look like a very futuristic education program? It does. So, what's wrong in that? So, therefore, Tamil Nadu is demanding rupees 2,152 crore from the central government to promote its new innovative education design plan. It also says that we will create homogeneous, uniform quality, high excellence in public schools so that the poor children with minimal fees can also achieve a wonderful education standard quite like the private schools, but we need money for that. So therefore, article ends by saying that there is no harm in learning Hindi language. It's good. It's about national integration. But when the states, some states in India, have such a strong objection to that, and by neglecting Hindi language, they still continue to commit to excellence in public education, should we keep forcing them? Or should we just let them have the liberty? Well, talking a little bit about what could be the possible solutions to this, fight or this kind of a conflict of interest. One big thing should be that center government should stop forcing. There is no use in forcing. Forcing further creates more regionalism, more ethnocentrism. So let the center experiment. Let them experiment. Let all the states use their state education plans and give them some time. Give them at least 5 to 6 years to prove their commitments. If yes, there is no problem. Let them be. If still they are not doing anything great or their educational commitments are not met, maybe then the center can come in and force whatever it feels like. Talking about how the Constitution of India has given states to design their own education plans, yes, we can talk about how education being included in the state list. Now, you all know that it is Schedule 7 of the Constitution, which actually talks about India's federal structure, India's quasi-federal structure, because it discusses the division of legislative powers between center state and the sharing of powers in the form of concurrent list. So if education is a part of the state list as well, then let's understand that states do have the right to determine the nature of school education, curriculum, fee structure, methodology, pedagogy, all of that. You should give them some liberty. But these states are saying that center is using its too much power to control the education segment. That defeats the purpose of state list. Second thing is when we talk about Article 29 and 30, we know these talk about the rights of minorities in India. Religious minorities as well as linguistic minorities. Both these minorities are acknowledged by the Indian Constitution. Therefore, both these articles talk about the cultural and language rights of minorities in India. All communities have a right to learn and propagate their language, even to run educational institutions in their language. So what's the harm if states want to do the same? Last but not the least, under Article 343 to 351, we know that although Hindi is used for official purposes in India, but the government of India itself has given the permission to various states to use English wherever necessary. It can back up as a regional language in case the state governments feel comfortable in that. So with all these constitutional ideas in mind, what do you think? Is the center really forcing the use of Hindi and is it valid? Or is the demand of these states to let them be given some freedom and prove themselves in a few years valid. And on that note, let me quickly show you a very important UPSC prelims question from 2018. Now, here is one more update for you. All those dear aspirants, a very good morning, Rishi, good morning, Chaitanya, good morning, all of you there. If any student chooses to answer these questions and they also posted their answers in the comment box below, then there is a special surprise from our side. Not only shall we read the names and congratulate you, but there is much more that we are planning. So do keep posting us with your answers, keep the engagement on. Also, it's a great practice for you. So yes, you can post your answers in the comment box. A very good morning, Mamta. Okay, so this 2018 UPSC prelims question, let's see what it says. It says, which of the following have led to the introduction of English language in India? The options are 1, Charter Act of 1813, or is it B, General Committee of Public Instruction 1823? The last option, Orientalist and Anglist controversy. You need to choose which of these options are correct. Okay, so I leave the question to you, hoping that you will post your comment with the right answer. And then let me show you the second article for the day. This is also editorial page number 10. It needs a detailed analysis. Let me quickly do the topic mapping first. To which topic of your UPSC syllabus does this article relate with? Oh, very good. That's wonderfully said, Rishi. Yes, absolutely spot on. These are the entries in the various lists that you have mentioned for education. Very good. That's a great input there. Okay, so this article titled, it's a very unique article, I would say. Signing off an entrenched symbol of stigma. We all know that symbol is something that stands for something else. Just like on the traffic signal, the green light is a symbol of carrying on or driving ahead. There is nothing written on it, but we just relate with symbols because we are used to it. It's a part of our culture, legal system. Similarly, this article says sometimes symbols also have a very deep meaning and value. For example, if we say that caste system in India has actually come down today. Nobody believes in the rigid caste system right now. But then, if you see the matrimonial ads in the newspapers, they all talk about marriages happening within the same caste, at least the arranged marriages. If you see the reservation system of India, you will see that reservation is mainly based on caste even today. So, these symbols prove that caste system is still here, it is not over. Article says the same thing. Sometimes there are so many symbols we use in our daily life that remind us of the stigma associated with caste. And what is a stigma? A stigma is almost like a shame. When somebody feels ashamed of something, it's degradation of somebody's respect. So, does caste system exist in India today? Is it visible in various symbols on our daily life, on a daily basis? If yes, then the government in Tamil Nadu has done something very unique today. It has chosen to end the various symbols of caste system which still exist in the state. Okay, so let's do the topic mapping first. Yes, definitely this belongs to GS paper 1, GS paper 2 and GS paper 3. How? Let me explain. GS paper 1 because caste system is a major social issue associated with Indian society. In the GS paper 1, you have a topic called Indian society and its salient features. In that, we do study caste system and Varna system in detail. The topic talks about that. Similarly, GS paper 2, we talk about social justice. What all has the government of India done to end the exploitation of caste system? Here we talk about the reservation policy. Yes, we also talk about various government social welfare policies for the people of so-called backward castes, right? So the topic also talks about GS paper 2, reservation and welfare of lower caste. Last but not the least, GS paper 3. A component of GS paper 3 UPSC syllabus talks about poverty. In this article, yes, we do talk about poverty and deprivation associated with members of lower caste in India since ancient times. So all these three topics are covered, touched upon in this article. So let's see what is the main focus or main argument of this article. Well, the article starts by talking about villages in Tamil Nadu, rural Tamil Nadu. Article says that in Tamil Nadu there is a strange word. It's a very common word, but in Tamil Nadu it is subject to various kind of interpretations. This word is colony. Colony. In past also we have heard words like colonialism. India was a colony of the British. In my country, in my city, there are so many colonies near the public parks. So, colony is a very multi-dimensional word, you can say. On the one hand, colony could mean something that is controlled by somebody else. Colony could also mean a simple unit of residence where people, residential area where people are living. In this context, article is saying the word colony itself has become a symbol of caste exploitation in rural Tamil Nadu. A symbol of caste exploitation. Where? In rural Tamil Nadu. How and why? Let's see. Because the word colony in Tamil Nadu is almost like somebody being treated as untouchable. And we are talking about the villages in Tamil Nadu, the rural Tamil Nadu area. So it has become common to the same like the word untouchability in Tamil Nadu. Why like that? The reason is that since ancient times, and we are talking about very, very old times, right from the time when possibly we were talking about various dynasties in India like the Gupta period. Even before that, we talk about the Mauryan period. A little before that, the later Vedic period. Since then, in Tamil Nadu villages, there are certain words such as, the article says, Palapati. Then similarly, there are certain words like Parayan Kulam. Now, all these are words in Tamil language. All these words have been used as words representing certain kind of castes. Since that time of the history, the upper caste societies were trying to segregate or remove the lower caste communities from their own living areas. The lower castes, unfortunately, were denied access to same temples, same public wells, same community areas, same markets. As a reason, all those workers who belonged to the lower caste and the tribals, the remote tribals, they became geographically, spatially separated from the living areas of the upper caste. In fact, there are certain words also that were used. Two very good examples given by the article comes from a very famous ancient text called Tolkappiyam. You may have heard about this in history. It is the oldest Tamil composition from 7th century BCE. Okay. Now this also has references to words like cherry. And what does cherry mean here? Cherry means an area where common people live, where the poor lower caste people live, away from where the upper rich caste members are living. Similarly, there is another very famous Tamil text that is referred to as the Sila. It's a slightly long word, Sila. Silapathikaram. Okay, this also comes from about 2nd century CE, and it also refers to a word called Purancheri, a word which again means settlement in the outskirts for the members of the lower caste. Now, unfortunately, although these words were completely related to the Varna and caste system, after the British government came, they started doing census. We all know that British government used to collect a lot of data from India, various villages, various towns, because they wanted to keep a written record of everything. They wanted to colonize and administer India. To understand the real ground level life of Indian culture, they used to enumerate everything in writing by collecting a data and statistics on them. When the British government started doing this approach, they started writing all these names in the record books. So something that was just about a culture value started becoming slowly a legal reality in India, that the lower castes were segregated into areas called cherries or colonies, and the upper caste remained in the more posh and the more upmarket areas of the city. Unfortunately, that written record is being used even today. Today also, words like cherry, various words like puran cherry or cherry mozi, all these continue to be used as colonies of the lower caste members. What is worse is that we have colonies like the Dalit colony, the Adi Dravida colony, the Harijan colony. Even today, the fact that these are existing shows that caste system is a major determinant of Indian rural life. Therefore, the state government has done a unique thing. It has decided to remove all these names which use the word colony, so that the stigma, the shame associated with caste actually becomes less and people have the right to equality in the real manner. So, what do you think? Could this be a great initiative? Article is asking that. Article also says that it is very unfortunate that all these names that we spoke about, whether it's Puran Cherry or whether it is the word called Parayapati or Palapati, all these words were age-old words. Today they have symbolized colonies, the lower caste colonies. What is this? It is pure caste exploitation and segregation. So now the government is saying if we continue to use these words, automatically people's residential documents like the Aadhaar card, passport, driving license, voter cards, bank passbooks and checkbooks, all these will be registered in their address, right? But if the address continues to be with the word called colony, what happens? We are still associating it with the person's caste only. And therefore, people will automatically, after looking at these documents of an individual, they will come to know with the word colony that yes, he or she is coming from a backward class, a backward caste. Is that a respectful thing to happen? Absolutely not in today's secularized democratic India. And therefore, the government says it is a prejudice. It further creates things like untouchability and bias against the lower caste residents in rural Tamil Nadu. So the government is saying, let them not be victimized anymore by words like colony. Let them not feel the devastating psychological impact of caste exploitation by letting them use words like colonies and cherries in their addresses. And from now onwards, we will completely remove the word colony and give these newer names. Because even if you talk about reformers like Mahatma Gandhi, Mahatma Jyoti Rao Phule, or Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, they also tried their best to remove caste bias. But they could also not remove it completely. They said, let's not use the word untouchable. Let's not use a word that is derogatory. Mahatma Gandhi said, let's use the word Harijan. Mahatma Phule and Dr. Ambedkar said, let's use the word Dalit. These are more respectful words. But today, no matter which word you use, ultimately the word only promotes caste stigma. So why do we need that in a secular India, where people live based on their occupation, financial status? They should not be segregated based on their caste status anymore. So therefore, the government has decided to completely remove the word colony and change all these addresses. And I think it is a welcome step taken by the government. Even talking about the constitution, our constitution strictly prohibits any kind of caste-based stigmatization, exploitation, discrimination. Article 17 clearly abolishes untouchability. Yes, we do have the POA, Prevention of Atrocities Against the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act 1989, that was further amended at least 2 to 3 times, making untouchability an even more strict punishable offense. Yes, we have Article 15, which says no discrimination in matters of employment or anything else within the government control or in the civil society on the basis of caste. Similarly, Article 46, Directive Principle of State Policy. It also says that we should promote the so-called backward castes into education and employment. Then, of course, various judgments of the Supreme Court have also said that caste discrimination is nothing but a major offense. Back in 2015, the Prime Minister of India, Shri Modi, said while inaugurating the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, the Clean India Mission, he said that today the worst survival symbol of untouchability is manual scavenging. No wonder Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was created in 2015, and once again It was recreated in 2021 with a new name, Health and Wellbeing Vertical. This time, the main agenda being abolishing any kind of manual scavenging by the members of scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, making it a complete punishable offense. You see, this is the commitment of the government to actually undo the caste damage. Whether it's your reservation policy, whether it's you're promoting free coaching, free pre-metric and post-matric scholarship for the weaker or so-called backward caste members, the ultimate aim is to promote equality. And hence, we do not need such age-old names in modern India which remind people of their caste. That's the argument of the article. Now it's up to you to decide whether a step like this will actually help or will it only help in the paper. That's a food for thought I'm leaving you with. And now let's show you an interesting UPSC PYQ. Prelims question from 2016. It says, with reference to the cultural history of medieval India, consider the following statements. 1. Siddhas or Siddhars of Tamil region were monotheistic and they condemned, they rejected idolatry. Idolatry means idol worship. Monotheistic means somebody who believes only in one God. Second statement, Lingayats of Kannada region questioned the theory of rebirth and rejected the caste hierarchy. Let's see whether you can solve this question. As I said, please post your answer with your name in the comment box and let us reach back to you. Okay, so allow us this great engagement by commenting, answering the question. Yes, if you have a doubt, recommendation, any suggestion, please feel free to talk about it. This is the platform for you. It's for your success and we are there for it. So do that. And also post your answer in the comment box and then we will definitely reach back to you. Now, which of these statements are correct? Please choose the appropriate code and do answer the question. Now, let's proceed with the next article. This is a short article, more so for prelims perspective. But the first thing important to be done is, this is page number 10. What does the article say? What are the new rules on chemically contaminated sites? When the word chemically contaminated comes in picture, it definitely brings back the images of either Bhopal gas tragedy or the Chernobyl disaster of Russia or the Fukushima nuclear power plant leakage in Japan, or as recently the fire in the cracker making factory in Ghaziabad. All these things come into picture. Any chemical accident could mean a gas leakage, chemical leakage. It could mean some kind of a bioweaponry. When we used to talk about the COVID pandemic, we said the same thing. We can talk about nuclear leakage, radioactive leakage, and such a disaster. Okay, so all these are covered under industrial accidents, but these are dangerous because any chemical exposure of people can lead to lethal diseases among them, including death. So this article investigates that in today's times, when all the countries are running towards becoming nuclear powers, even countries who are a member of conventions like the non-nuclear non-proliferation treaty, okay, and the CTBT, all these countries are also today trying to enhance their nuclear power. Some, yes, for peaceful purposes and energy security, but some others, you never know, maybe for war purposes. The bigger question comes in picture. Are these sites where nuclear testing is done, where various kind of chemical factories are located, are these safe for people? What if there is a kind of disaster like the Bhopal gas disaster? What happens after that? Who is coming up and cleaning that area? Who is sanitizing that area? Who is making sure that years after the disaster, no more leakage is happening and people living around these accident spots are safe? This is the question posted by the article. Yes, a very good morning, Amrita. That's wonderful, Rishi. Thank you for your comment. Absolutely well said. Ultimately, it's poverty which is not letting people's education needs be fulfilled. That's very well said. Coming back to the agenda of this article, did we do the topic mapping? No, so let's do that. Talking about UPSC syllabus, to which UPSC GS paper does this article belong to? Definitely we can say it comes from your GS paper 3, that is science and technology, as we are talking about climate mitigation, when we talk about nuclear pollution. Yes, we are talking about chemical gases leakage, and we are talking about radioactive waste, the pollution that it causes. Okay. So yes, this is Science and Tech GS paper 3. That's for the topic mapping. Now let's proceed with the main agenda of the article. This article is trying to say that very recently, the Ministry of Environment, that's the Environment Ministry, has notified, it has declared some new rules named as the Environmental Protection Management of Contaminated Site Rules 2025. Make sure you note down these points because you have to use them in your answers. Okay, so which is the new rule being declared by the Ministry of Environment? Please note down, this will be the environment protection management of contaminated where some kind of disaster has happened or is in the process of happening. Contamination sites. Rules 2025. This is the recent legislation the ministry is announcing. What is the purpose of the legislation? The purpose is that this legislation will lay out proper and systematic process for taking care of those sites which are facing chemical contamination. Yes, of course, we can talk about the Bhopal situation, of course. We can talk about any other factory where some gas, toxic chemical has leaked or has flown into the nearby water, or even those sites where nuclear testing is done. By the way, do you know that there are so many villages in India near the areas where nuclear plants are currently being processed and developed? Have you ever seen the condition of the people who live there? Have you seen how many of them today are suffering from cancer? How many others have organ failure? And how many children are born with congenital, by birth, neurological defects? Yes, that's a grim reality. To address these kind of problems, this rule has been passed. Why? Because now the government wants to give a proper legal structure to what? Legal structure to the process of solving the problem of chemical contamination in various regions of India, more so village areas. Now, hazardous, dangerous, toxic chemical waste has been dumped since history, where near all these villages where various kind of chemicals are prepared, paints are prepared, polymers are prepared, plastics are prepared, crackers are prepared, mining is done, right? Similarly, nuclear testing is done. All these lead to a proper contamination of the soil, top layer, the groundwater, various wetlands, rivers, lakes, ponds, everything that is coming in the nearby area, aquifers, and of course, even the surface level water. All that becomes contaminated with dangerous chemical, pollutants. Generally, when we talk about the old rules in India, the old industrial rules, they had no proper protocol of cleaning up the sites after the accident. They have no proper protocol of punishing the people responsible for the accident. In case the people who are responsible run away, like they ran away after the Bhopal gas tragedy, look at the plant in Bhopal today, where the methyl isocyanate had leaked. Look at that plant. Do you think anything has been done? No. It is still dangerous. Still dangerous. They have just asked people not to go inside, but still people go there. And therefore, the number of people suffering from illness in the nearby area is very, very high. Very, very high. Okay. So, therefore, whether accident take place of a nuclear nature or a chemical nature, the problem is that it is simply dumped in the landfill where normal waste is processed, simply covered under the soil, simply sometimes even burnt, or the waste is stored in some age old factory which is a little remote from where people live. But all these various chemical spill sites, has there been any kind of guarantee that 10 years, 20 years, 40 years later, this will not cause a danger to the population who is living nearby? Now understand that India today has the largest growing population in the world. I agree. I agree that our total fertility rate is quite average. It is just 2 now, 2.0, which is okay. But still, the population is the highest in the world, with most states having much higher population density. In that case, we cannot completely isolate the areas where chemical accidents have taken place. At some point of time, with growing urbanization, there will be some settlement near those areas. Is it safe 40, 50 years after the accident happens? Who will give that guarantee? So, all these abandoned factories and abandoned nuclear sites are just lying there and further causing environmental disaster. So, what to do then? What choice do we have? Some of these sites were specially created for managing the dangerous waste, but nothing happened. Today in India, we have 103 such sites across the country which are not taken care of, which are still lying there and posing a danger to human, animal, and plant life. Similarly, polluters, people who were owning these companies or factories, have simply shut and run away. They have run away. We could not catch them. We could not make them pay to the victims of the disaster. Similarly, except 7 states, only in 7 states some cleaning was done of the contaminated soil. Samples were taken and sent to Europe and US for testing. Surface water was removed. Groundwater was examined. But no other place it was done. Out of 103, only 7 were taken care of. You imagine what is the level of negligence. So, are these new rules needed that the government is announcing today, which I just told you? Environmental protection, management of contaminated sites rules 2025? Yes, they are needed. Why are they needed? Because the existing rules belong to 2010, when the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, it had laid down a protocol, a program that was a capacity building program for industrial pollution. Okay, so this is 2010 history, capacity building program. What was the purpose of this capacity building program? One, to create a list or an inventory of all sites that are probably contaminated. List of probably contaminated sites. They needed a proper list and data for it. Second agenda under the 2010 program created by the MOEFCC was to actually create proper guidance documents. The government issued guidelines so that people could go and create assessment of the contaminated areas. What is the level of contamination? Take samples, measure them, send them to laboratories. Last but not the least, it was to take care of the legal, financial remedy, help that you provide for the victims who have suffered for these disasters. Now, out of this, the first 2 were done, but the last was not done. 20, 30 years after the disasters, the victims are still waiting for help. Therefore, the new rules, yes, they are needed. They are needed for a much better justice to be done to these people. And hence today, as per the new 2025 rules, the government says proper identification and reporting has to be done of all the sites where contamination is still there, which have not been cleaned, where the company owners have run away long back. We need a list of that. Either they are proven contaminated sites or suspected contaminated sites on a half yearly basis. Every 6 months, we need a report to be submitted by the investigating panel to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Second thing, State Pollution Control Board or other such panels appointed by the government will have to act within 90 days of getting information from the government regarding what is the cleanup plan, what is the punishment that should be met to those people, what remedy should be provided to the victims, how should we evacuate that place even today if there is a need like that. Then after 19 days, again a report has to go which confirms that yes, this site is contaminated. Otherwise, if they do not submit the report, they will face sanctions from the government. Then The government will submit a list of 129 dangerous chemicals. This panel, which is investigating, or the State Pollution Control Board, will have to see whether these sites contain any of these 189 chemicals or not. If yes, immediate action has to be taken. If not, further investigation will be done regarding what chemical has been creating the contamination of that site. And all these 189 dangerous chemicals are identified under Hazardous and Other Waste Rules in India 2016. Very important to remember. This one policy, this one program contains the list of various chemical components that are considered as dangerous in India by the government. Last but not the least, if the site is found unsafe even today, people will be immediately told to leave that area, to not enter that area. Advertisements will be published so that people take preventive actions, whatever is possible. So yes, we need all these rules in 2025. That's what the article says. Plus, there has to be a solution. Victims have to be given some guarantee. Example, if the company or the factory owner responsible for the accident refuses to take that responsibility, refuses to support giving financial claim to the victims, then the government will come in the picture. And the government will do some kind of cost sharing between center and the state government and provide funds to the victims. There are certain exceptions to this 2025 rule, such as some nuclear wastes or some other ingredients. But apart from that, all such sites found contaminated should be taken care of. Now, in case this chemical leakage or nuclear radioactive waste has led to the loss of somebody's life, when there is a high death rate among victims, if there is a permanent damage to the body in some way, which often happens in such disasters, then the case will be shifted to the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. That's the new Indian Penal Code. Okay, so a tougher legal action will be taken in that case. So this is the article. Now let's see the prelims question based on the article. Yes, Mamta, you will get the PDF. As I said, tomorrow I will give you a link in which you can access all the PDFs of every Hindu session that we take on this platform. All right. Okay. So now 2019 UPSC prelims question says, as per the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016 in India, which of the following statements is correct? A. Waste generator has to segregate waste into 5 categories. B. The rules are applicable to notified urban local bodies, that's municipal corporations, notified towns and all industrial townships only. C. The rules provide for exact and elaborate criteria for identification of sites for landfills and waste processing facilities, or is it D? It is mandatory, compulsory on the part of the waste generator that the waste generated in one district cannot be moved to another district. So please pick the appropriate answer to this 2019 question. And as I said, do post your answer in the comment box if you want to hear back from us. Okay. Now the second last article for the day. We are talking about the ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Suddenly, India seems to be showing a lot of interest in its eastern neighbors. Suddenly, the Indian government is trying to renew its age-old trade pact with the ASEAN countries, the 10-member ASEAN Forum, usually dominated by Chinese agenda, has seen a new interest coming from India today. The Indian Foreign Ministry has been negotiating with the ASEAN. They are meeting today. They will continue to meet until August 15. People are asking, why this sudden renewal of interest in the ASEAN partnership? Obviously, we all know the answer. We know that it is typically because of the US-led sanctions on India, US-led tariffs on India that were initially 25%. Already some have been implemented from 7th August onwards. And then came the punishment to India given by Donald Trump for importing oil and gas from Russia. A complete act of diplomatic hypocrisy, double standards, because European Union also imports oil from Russia. So does China, many other things. and so does US. Many other import items are coming from Russia. But India was singled out and punished with another 25% tariff for importing Russian oil. This has left Indian government in a very confused situation. US being the largest export destination and the largest bilateral trade partner. What options is India left with? One option is to diversify its trade. And no wonder this new interest in ASEAN. So let's do a quick topic mapping. The topic relates to your GS paper 2. GS paper 2 in your UPSC syllabus has a separate topic, international relations, which cover international forums like ASEAN and the regional comprehensive export partnership. Okay, so all these come from IR, international relations. Similarly, yes, the topic also maps with your GS paper 3, science, technology, trade. Here we talk about free trade agreement between countries. We talk about economic concepts like trade deficit, the imbalance in export import. Indian economy, so GS paper 3. If these are the topics, what's the key idea given in the article? Article says that India is currently going and evaluating. India is still evaluating the impact of the unusually high tariff that has been imposed by the US government. Okay, so total 50% is the tariff that the US government has imposed right now. What does this mean? It means that US government under Donald Trump is into economic imperialism now, just like what the British Raj had done on Indian economy before independence. While US wants India to reduce import duties on various US products, especially the agriculture products and the dairy products, which could endanger Indian farmers, Indian, animal husbandry workers and Indian fishermen in a big way, because US wants India to keep importing all these products from the US at a cheaper cost, so that Indian manufacturers in all these areas, they keep suffering that additional burden. But when it comes to Indian products in the US market, US wants to impose heavy tariff duties so that Indian products in the US market become expensive. Nobody will buy them. They will become completely non-competitive. So we anyway happen to have a loss, right? So this one-way advantage demanded by the US is unbearable for India. No wonder our Honorable Prime Minister recently, in fact yesterday, said very clearly that we are not going to tolerate the demand done by the US of allowing easy entry of agriculture products and fisheries as well as dairy products in India. We cannot endanger these key segments of Indian economy. Alongside, in this entire confusion where US India partnership seems to be so much threatened, India has had no choice but to try to diversify its trade needs. Just recently, we signed a very interesting trade pact with the United Kingdom. Similarly, today India is trying to diversify its trade negotiation with the 10-member ASEAN Forum. Now, very interesting is the fact that quite recently, just few months back, Indian government had said that the trade deal with ASEAN, which is actually referred to as the AITIGA, ASEAN India Trade in Goods Agreement. Indian government said that this is bogus. This is very silly deal, because here all ASEAN countries want that their products should keep flowing into the Indian market, especially China. China has a plan of flooding Indian market with its own product under the AITIGA. So it is unfair to India's needs. Anyway, India does not have a favorable trade balance right now, as when we see with respect to the ASEAN nations. So the government said we do not want this deal to happen, because all the ASEAN members are acting like the allies of China, and it is not favorable to us. So India said that this 2009 AITIGA doesn't suit India's purpose. All Chinese goods will flood India and Indian manufacturers will lose in the competition. But suddenly, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has changed its idea. Today it says no, we are open to this deal. This sudden change of heart is a compulsion actually. Because unfortunately, if you see the reality, then the trade balance between India and ASEAN is not good. In 2017-18, India was exporting barely 34.2 billion dollars worth goods to ASEAN, but importing dollars 47.1 million worth of goods into India. We had a clear-cut trade deficit. That is the gap between our exports and imports. That is when your exports are less and imports are more. So you are losing money, right? So this was dollars 12.9 billion. Now in 2024-25, it has become worse. Today, the deficit is actually much higher. For example, now, although the exports are decreasing and they are increasing at a very slow pace, it is the imports that have grown 7.5% every year. So, today the trade deficit as compared to 2018 is just almost double, more than that. It's $45.2 billion. So are we having any benefit here? No, we are not having any benefit. It is a lost deal for India. So as a result, what has happened? India earlier also, just in 2019, had completely walked away from the RCEP. That's the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. This was almost like a multi-country free trade agreement between the members of the ASEAN and South Asia. India did not do it. It stepped out of the forum composed by various countries like the Cambodia or Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Singapore, Thailand, Laos. India moved out. It was not in India's favor. But today, because the trade aspects with US have become weak, and just few days from now, Russian leader, Putin is going to meet Donald Trump. Maybe this leads to newer developments. India is happy actually. India is happy that the meeting is going to happen. India feels somehow it will lead to a revision of India's own US imposed tariffs. Maybe US becomes softer on us. That's the hope India has. But as of now, what choice do we have? Rather than try to explore new markets. So now the government is negotiating with ASEAN so that some favorable outcome can come and India can continue with the AITIGA and the RECP. That's what the article says. And with this, I'll quickly take you to the last short article for the day. This again is GS paper 3. Why? Because we are talking about science, we are talking about endangered species. Okay, we are talking about endangered species and we are talking about climate mitigation again. This article comes as a positive news. Why? Because this article from page 14 says that India has set a world example by actually increasing its Asiatic lion population. That's from 674 as per the 2015 data to now 891 as per the recent 2025 data. Is that not a positive news? It's a wonderful news. India has taken a great leap when it comes to protecting endangered and almost near extinction species. Now remember, whether a particular species of animal is actually endangered, critically endangered, all of this is actually decided by the IUCN, International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Okay? So remember that it often creates its red list and this decides the exact status of a species. So as of now, Asiatic lions are only found in India, specifically in the area of the Gir National Park and the nearby areas of Gujarat, Rajasthan and little bit of the western upper Madhya Pradesh. Now with this, the lion population in India had been facing the danger of extinction since the 19th century itself. So today, out of strict protection, use of artificial intelligence, use of strong satellite mapping, latest camera technology, sound sensors, completely trying to work towards stopping any acts of hunting, poaching, and illegal trade in animals, the government has reached this huge achievement that our tiger population has expanded. Specifically, the focus area right now of further promoting a lion population is the Barda Wildlife Sanctuary. People say it is the second home for the Asiatic lions. Talking about other big cats, the data says There are 58 tiger reserves in India, which have 70% of global tiger population. That's huge. Similarly, in India, when you talk about snow leopard, then after countries like China, India happens to be one which has 714 such snow leopards which are being properly protected by the government. Similarly, the cheetah. You all know that recently from Namibia to the Kuno National Park, so many cheetahs were brought here, and then they are getting bred here, they are being taken care of, all to protect our wildlife. Because not only is it a matter of climate mitigation, environmental protection, but also it is a matter of promoting, preserving, and propagating our wildlife ecotourism in the long run on a very sustainable basis, on a very clean basis, without endangering the habitats of these crucial animals. So many initiatives India has been taking. For example, let's talk about the 1972, the Wildlife Protection Act. Then we have the Project Tiger, Project Elephant 1991. You have the Project Dolphin, protection for the great Indian bustard. Now, the most interesting thing is that today, as the government is using AI technology, smart computerization to protect these wild animals, there is another aspect of this. This is the culture aspect. Sometimes, without much technology, without much AI, there are some local tribes and communities who do so much, such a big deal to protect these endangered animals. One example you may have heard, the Vishnoi community, which takes care of the black buck population. They pamper them, they help them, in staying safe, and they also enable a great contribution in maintaining their population. Similarly, the article has mentioned the name of another community called as the Maldhari community. So this Maldhari community are also traditional farmers and pastoralists living in the Gir wildlife region, and they have actually tried to protect lions. Lions for them are important as a religious cultural symbol, and therefore they today represent an excellent model of people coexisting with nature and community led participation when it comes to nature protection. This should also remind you of the Chipko Andolan of Uttarakhand, where so many women actually protected trees from being cut by literally holding on to them. So every time a community has taken a step to promote environment, definitely it has resulted in great benefits for ecological restoration. So with this, my last question to you for this session as we end now, it's from UPSC 2020. It says, which among the following tiger reserves has the largest area under critical tiger habitat? A. Corbett? Is it B. Ranthambore? Is it C. Nagarjuna Sagar Srisalam? Or is it D. the Sundarbans? It's an easy question. Try to answer all these questions. You can number them, okay? Or you can just only give me the answer, but please do so in the comment box so that I can reach out to you and I know which students are answering and how quickly are they answering. So with this, thank you so much for being a part of this a really interesting session, for all your lovely comments and participation. Now do not forget to therefore like, subscribe and share Study IQ English so that you get all the latest updates that we create in this channel only for you. Thank you, take care, all the best. See you tomorrow with another such interesting Hindu session.